Have you ever stared at your phone wondering why your child hasn't replied yet? Maybe it's been days, maybe weeks. You keep checking, hoping for that little buzz, a ding, a simple "Hi, Mom" or "Hey, Dad." But all you get is silence. And in that silence, it's easy for your heart to sink a little deeper each day. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did I say too much the last time we talked? Am I just forgotten? You're not alone in this. So many loving parents in their 60s, 70s, even 80s have shared the same quiet pain, being ignored by the very people they brought into this world. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't always mean your children don't care. Sometimes life gets loud for them, but that doesn't mean you have to sit in the shadows of that silence. You see, reaching out to your kids when they ignore you is a delicate thing. It's not about guilt trips or saying, "I raised you better than this." It's about sending a message that is strong but kind, one that honors your dignity without making them feel cornered. Because deep down, you want connection, not control. You want to be remembered, not resented. Let's talk about that first message. And it starts with something simple, but powerful. Imagine you send this. "Hi, sweetheart. I know life can get busy. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you today. Hope you're doing okay. Love you always." That's it. No pressure. No, "Why haven't you called?" Just warmth and space. A reminder that you're still here, not demanding attention, but offering love. You'd be surprised how that kind of message can nudge the heart of a grown child who's been wrapped up in their own world. It doesn't accuse. It doesn't beg. It just exists with grace. Now, let's say you've sent messages like that and the silence still lingers. You start feeling invisible. That's when the second message comes in, one that gives them room to be honest and gives you peace either way. Something like, "Hey, I understand if you've got a lot going on, or even if you need some space. Just let me know you're okay, that's all I ask." That one sentence carries something beautiful. It respects their boundaries, but also reminds them you're a parent, one who still worries, one who still feels. It opens a door gently, without pushing it. But here's something important I want you to remember. When your kids ignore you, it's easy to make it all about what you did wrong. Please don't do that to yourself. Sometimes their silence is more about where they are in life, not about who you are as a parent. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they're lost. Maybe they don't know how to handle emotions either. That doesn't make their silence okay, but it does remind you not to take it as a personal verdict on your worth. Let me tell you about Carol. She's 68, lives in Arizona, and she told me how her daughter stopped calling after a disagreement over something as small as a holiday dinner plan. Carol said, "I felt like I had disappeared from her life overnight." Weeks passed. No texts. No calls. And she sat in that silence, growing more bitter by the day. But one morning, Carol tried something different. She wrote a short message. "I miss our talks. I'm here when you're ready." No anger. No conditions. Just a light left on. 2 days later, her daughter responded. Was it a perfect reunion? No. But it was a start. And sometimes that's all you need. You see, a message doesn't have to be long to be meaningful. It just needs to come from a place of calm strength. That's the kind of strength you've built over a lifetime. Raising kids, managing a household, surviving loss, heartbreak, disappointment. And now, you get to use that strength again, not in yelling or scolding, but in quiet confidence. And sometimes, the strongest message is no message at all. I know that may sound strange, but once you've reached out with kindness, once you've offered your love and your presence without strings, it's okay to take a step back and wait. Not with resentment, but with self-respect. Because if they don't answer, it's not because you didn't try. It's because they weren't ready. Let me be clear, this isn't about giving up. It's about not begging for attention that should be freely given. There's a difference. And when you learn to make that distinction, your heart feels lighter. You begin to focus more on the people who do show up for you. The neighbor who checks in. The friend who calls weekly. The grandchild who sends you a drawing or a hi out of the blue. These connections are golden. Let them nourish you. It's okay to want your children to reach out. That desire doesn't make you needy, it makes you human. But how you respond to being ignored, that's where your wisdom shines. And trust me, you've got more wisdom than you give yourself credit for. So when the silence gets loud, take a breath. Reach out with kindness, not desperation. And if you hear nothing in return, whisper this to yourself: I am still whole. I am still worthy. I have not lost myself. Because you haven't. You're still here with a heart full of love to give, and that love is never wasted, even when it goes unreturned. Now, let's talk about what happens when silence stretches into months. Maybe birthdays have come and gone. Maybe holidays passed without so much as a card or a call. You've replayed old voicemails, scrolled through photos, even wondered if you should say something sharp, just to get a reaction. But you don't want to push them further away. You want to rebuild something, not tear down what's left. And that's why this next message matters so much. It's the message of gentle accountability. You're not blaming, but you're not pretending either. Something like, "Hey, I've been missing our connection lately. I'd love to hear from you. If something's bothering you, I'm open to talking. No judgment." That message tells them you feel the distance, but you're not making assumptions. It invites a conversation instead of demanding one. It's especially powerful because it gives your child a safe place to respond without fear of being scolded or guilt-tripped. Sometimes the door needs to be open just wide enough for them to peek in before they fully step through. There's a man I once spoke to named Harold. He's 72, lives in Wisconsin. His son hadn't called in over 6 months, not since their last argument, which Harold now realizes got out of hand. At first, Harold wanted to send a long message listing everything he was hurt by. But after some thought, he sent something simple. "I know things got tense between us. I want you to know I'm still here, and I still love you." No need for long explanations. No need to bring up the fight again. Just the kind of words that can melt pride, soften anger, and make a child remember. This is my dad, and he still loves me. And sometimes when kids ignore us, it's not about a big fight. It's about drifting, busy lives, new priorities. They're raising kids of their own, building careers, dealing with things they don't always talk about. That's where another kind of message becomes helpful, one that shares a moment instead of just asking for one. It could be something like, "Saw an old photo of you as a kid at the beach. It made me smile. Hope you're doing well." That kind of message says, "You're in my thoughts," without adding pressure. It also shows them that they're part of your story, and always will be. Even if they don't reply right away, it plants a seed. And sometimes, that's all you can do. Plant the seed, water it with love, and let time do the rest. But let's not sugarcoat things. Being ignored hurts, especially by your own children. It makes you question everything. How you raise them, where the closeness went, whether you're still needed. And for many, the hardest part isn't the silence itself. It's the fear that the silence means something permanent, that the bond is broken for good. If that fear has ever crept into your mind, I want you to hear this. You are not alone, and it's not too late. Healing can happen even in the most unexpected ways. But it starts with you staying grounded, not bitter. That brings us to another message, one that isn't about them at all. It's about you. It says, I've been trying to stay positive lately. Taking walks, cooking again, catching up with old friends. Just wanted to share. Hope things are going okay on your end too. This kind of message does two beautiful things. First, it tells your child, I'm not sitting here stuck in sadness. And second, it reminds them that you're still living, still growing, still worthy of being part of their life, not as someone waiting for crumbs, but as someone full of life and value. Now, maybe you're thinking, why should I be the one doing all the reaching out? Shouldn't they be calling me? That's a fair question, and you're right to feel that way. But here's the truth. Reaching out doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to love without ego, and that strength doesn't go unnoticed, even if it's not acknowledged right away. Sometimes a message isn't just for them, it's for you too. It's a way of saying, I will not let their silence harden my heart. I knew a woman named Diane, 74, living alone in North Carolina. Her daughter moved across the country and barely called. Diane said, I felt like a shadow in her life. But instead of going cold, she stayed soft. She mailed cards. She sent birthday wishes. She didn't expect replies, but she kept the line open. Then one day, out of the blue, her daughter called, apologized, said she'd been overwhelmed, lost, ashamed for not reaching out sooner. And Diane simply said, I'm glad you called. Let's start fresh. Would that call have happened without Diane's quiet faithfulness? Maybe, maybe not. But Diane never lost who she was in the waiting. That's the part that matters. So if you're sitting there today wondering whether to send that message, do it. Not because you're desperate, but because your heart still works. Because your love is still intact. And because choosing to be kind in a world full of walls is one of the bravest things you can do. There comes a point when you've sent the gentle message. You've left the door open. You've shown love without strings. And still, nothing. No reply. No explanation. Just a silence that grows heavier with time. And this is where many parents find themselves teetering between two choices. Closing their heart or keeping it open but guarded. What do you say to your child when you've already said everything? Sometimes it's not what you say. It's how you stand in your truth. And one message that helps anchor that truth might sound like this. I've always done my best to love you the way I know how. I understand if you need space, and I'm choosing to respect that. Just know my door is always open. This isn't a plea. It's not an emotional trap. It's a gentle release. It says, I love you, but I won't chase you. And there's a quiet strength in that. A kind of dignity that many parents forget they're allowed to hold on to. But holding on to that strength doesn't mean you're cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start protecting your peace. And peace is sacred in this chapter of your life. You've earned it. You might still wish they'd reach out. Of course you do. You're human. And that ache might always be there in some form. But the difference is, you're no longer letting that ache run your life. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry over a child who won't return your calls. But let those tears fall knowing you didn't lose who you are in the process. You still showed up. You still loved. You still tried. Now here's another kind of message, one that isn't for your child's inbox. It's for you, for the mirror, for those quiet mornings when the coffee is hot but your heart feels cold. Look at yourself and say, I am more than who replies to me. I am not measured by the silence of others. I am loved by me. That might sound odd at first, but say it anyway. Speak it until it softens something inside you. Because too often, we give our emotional power away to those who aren't even aware of what we're carrying. But there is still room for hope. Hope that doesn't exhaust you, but comforts you. Hope that maybe one day your child will see your messages, will feel your presence, will remember the birthday cakes, the bedtime stories, the quiet ways you showed up again and again when they were small. And maybe they'll reach out. Maybe they won't. But you'll still be whole either way. Because healing isn't waiting for their response. Healing is sending the message and letting go of what comes next. That's the kind of love that grows deeper with age, not weaker. You're not here to beg for crumbs. You're here to be a lighthouse. Steady, constant, strong. A place they can return to if and when they're ready, but not at the cost of your own well-being. And if they do come back, you don't have to pretend the silence never happened. You can welcome them while still honoring the time you spent in quiet. You can say, "I'm glad you're here. I missed you. Let's move forward." Because love doesn't always look like perfect holidays or picture-perfect family dinners. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. And sometimes it looks like sending one final message and then turning your heart toward the people who are showing up now, fully, joyfully, without hesitation. Maybe that's a neighbor who checks in every week. Maybe it's a grandchild who FaceTimes with a big smile. Maybe it's a church friend, a book club buddy, a pet who curls up beside you. All of it matters. All of it is connection. At this stage of life, you deserve emotional peace. You deserve to feel loved, respected, and heard, not just by your children, but by the world around you. So if they're still silent today, take a breath. Remind yourself that silence doesn't define your worth. And send one more message, the kind that says, "Life is too short to spend in bitterness. I choose love, whether it's returned or not." You never know what that kind of grace will open in someone else's heart. But more importantly, you'll know what it opens in yours. And before we end this, I want to say something you might not hear often enough. You matter. You still have so much to give. And even when it feels like you're doing this alone, you're not. There are thousands, maybe millions of parents just like you, hoping, hurting, and healing every day. Let's build a space where that healing continues. If this video resonated with you, share your story in the comments. Someone else might read it and feel less alone. And if you think someone you care about needs this message, send it to them. It might be the sign they didn't know they needed. And don't forget to subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more videos that speak to your heart, your struggles, and your strength. You're not invisible. You're still seen. You're still loved. And you're still worthy of every bit of peace life has to offer.